There's a very specific and lonely feeling that you get when you try to start something new. Whether it's a new business, or you want to try social media, or if you even just want to try a hobby that is out of character for you. And the reality is that most people end up killing the idea before it even gets any kind of legs to be able to start. And we try to justify the reason why we are stopping by saying we are being responsible. I'm being realistic. I am protecting myself or protecting my reputation. And we're saying that 100% out of fear. The fear of starting something new is a genuine fear. But there's also so many other fears that go with that as well. And on top of it, we often have self-limiting beliefs that we talk ourselves out of things before we even start. You know, things like, I don't have enough talent for this, or I'm too old to start this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm wasting all of this time that I put into this thing. Or the feeling of just not being ready or not being qualified. Or you can be completely irrational like myself and justified not doing things, saying that I'm afraid of success and the person who I will become if I'm highly successful. I will say that is 100% a fear of failure, just coined in a way that I could palate it. So today I want to talk about self-limiting beliefs. I want to talk about fear. I want to bring this up because I am the queen of self-sabotage. I am the person who builds 7 businesses and then rips them all down out of complete irrational fears. And I have put a metric ton of time and money into therapy because I know this is a problem. And yeah, I did a video on why I stop at 80%, but this video also goes with it. This 100% holds hands with who I am and why I can't tend to implement and move forward, or why I talk myself out of things before I even try. And I want to give you a little bit of framework that has worked for me, that I have kind of put together between therapy as well as things that I've implemented myself, that I have put into place to break that cycle of self-sabotage. Because I will be honest, I'm sick and tired of this. I am sick and tired of dreaming, of wishing for something different. But if I'm not going to do anything different, if we're not going to take the steps to living that dream or trying that thing, we're just going to sit on the sidelines and we're going to let life go by. I know I don't have a whole lot of years left, and I do want to build the legacy. I do want to do the accomplishments that I dreamed of. I do want to provide something for the next generations to come, that they will be proud, that they will look up and say, hey, she did this for us. And I'm hoping that this video is going to help you as well to get from the sidelines of fear and self-limitations to trying the thing that, you constantly think of, that you pour endless hours into thinking over, whether that's starting a business or writing the book or trying D&D if that's what you'd like to do, or to go back to school and say, I'm going to work on this degree. I'm going to start a new degree. I'm going to start a new career. I'm going to take my hobby. And yes, I'm a doctor, but I really like knitting and I want to become a knitting business. To do the things that stop us dead, let's talk about them. And truth be told, I had to go through 5 mental shifts. I had to also put in the framework, and I'm going to be providing that framework to you. If you stay to the end, you'll hear more about it, but I'll be providing it to you as well. But basically, I kind of developed a framework that has got me to kind of go in and do the things and make sure that I continue doing the things, because it's not the momentum that I need help with. It is keeping me on track when things get tough, when life gets lifey, I guess. So let's look at the most common fears and kind of the most self-defeating, limiting beliefs, I guess you could say. Let's look at the actual fear. Let's talk about what they are, but let's really kind of address what are the things that we need to shift? What are the things that we need to do in order to get over or get past that kind of fear? All right, so number one fear is the beginner fear, the beginner trap. Let's even call it the status trap, because, you've been a professional for 30 plus years, or you got the degree and you got your dream job, but now it doesn't kind of fulfill you, but you've invested so much into it that starting over now seems scary. And if you have been the professional and you've invested the time into something, having people kind of see you fail, having them see you flounder, to not be the success that you were perhaps in, your corporate job or whatever, it is scary. That fear of failure is 100% the number one thing that a lot of people kind of stop themselves immediately. They're so afraid to fail, especially in public nowadays with social media, etc., that they just don't even start. They don't allow themselves the permission to live the dream, to try the thing. And as I mentioned earlier, my own fear of failure, I coined it as a fear of success, because who could admit that they're afraid of failing when you've been highly successful for so many years? Come on. So yeah, I'm just showing you the sarcasm that my own brain now looks at my own brain and saying that this is 100% fear of failure and you were just too afraid to admit it. Now, there's also the limiting belief of I'm too old to start this, or I didn't start soon enough. There's 1,000,001 videos out there on YouTube that you better start YouTube today or it's too late. Start in 2026 or you are going to miss out. Or maybe you're like me where you're 50 and you're like, I'm closer to death than I am at the start of my career, so obviously I'm a little too late to start now. I should just stay in my lane and enjoy the last few years of my career. And, this whole dream is for young people. I'm not young anymore. Now, on the credential trap, that feeling that you need permission from some deity or some governing body to be able to start the thing. We use the words like, who am I to start writing this book? Or what do I think that I'm doing this YouTube thing? Or who do you think you are? Yeah, I am pretty sure my brain has been there too. And really, this is just a delay tactic. This is us trying to say that I will start when someone else outside of me gives me that permission to go ahead and try. Whether that be a spouse or whether that be a circumstance or whether that be a government or something like that, you never know. But basically, we try to justify this as, I will do the thing when so-and-so says it's okay for me to do the thing. Now, fear of public judgment, the cringe thing as well. That whole feeling of, oh my God, what if my professional colleagues see me doing this? Or what if my family sees me doing this? Or what will my friends think about me if I try this? Truth be told, most people are too into themselves. They're thinking about themselves to really worry about you. I'll be honest, I have fallen into this trap as well, that I thought people are going to think of me, and I found out that not a single one of my friends had watched one of my videos. So here I was thinking and worrying that I am going to be cringe and gross, and nobody's going to want to continue to be my friend, etc. But here I was, and no one really gave a f*** whatsoever. And lastly, we have the sunk cost lie. I've put 20 years into this career for me to just give it up kind of thought. I gotta protect everything that I have built. If I do this, then I'm gonna lose all of that. Basically, when we get into this spot, we feel that our way of life or our lifestyle is good enough for me to just keep on doing what I'm doing. That pivoting and doing something I actually want to do, or pivoting and trying something kind of scary, is not worth giving up everything that I'm kind of going to potentially leave behind. We really don't look at what are the potential benefits that we're going to get if we are highly successful at doing what we're going to do. Like even on a hobby, like, hey, What if you do meet a really great group of friends? What if you go out and you play a board game night and you end up finding the love of your dreams? But the thought of giving up where I am today, that feeling of being safe and not doing something new because you don't want to get out of that comfort zone, it will 100% leave us feeling kind of that we are okay where we are, but at the same time, you know secretly that you could do a whole lot more. You feel that sense of disappointment. And I know myself, for years, I drowned that sense of disappointment in alcohol. It also probably was the crutch on me justifying some of my fears and the shoulds. And by the way, did you know that when you say I should do something, should stems from a kind of fear of shame? Learned this from my therapist, who I think coined it from Brene Brown. But should is a mechanism of shame, that I should do this. I should stay in the job because it helps pay the bills. Or I should stay here because I like living in this neighborhood. You know, you can't picture yourself living in a better neighborhood, perhaps. We always think down that I am going to end up, homeless. I'm going to end up penniless, no friends, whatever. It ends up being that catastrophic thought. And that all comes from that word should, that you don't get the permission to do something you want because you feel the shame that you don't deserve perhaps something good, that you need to continue doing what you're doing because it is better for others. You're putting others' needs and wants in front of your own. Now, how do we get over this? And truth be told, fear is something you are never probably going to ever get over until you get so highly successful that you're kind of cushioned from the what ifs. So if we think of people like Jeff Bezos, if he had a business venture that failed, like a big movie, that's a drop in the bucket for him. That is not a fear for him to lose $70+ million because he wanted to try to get into somebody's good books. So when we know that fear is never going to go away, what do we then need to do to take away the keys from the fear and perhaps say, okay, you're not ready to drive right now. We're going to give it to somebody else to take over right now. And I hate to say this, but we're going to have to lean into that clumsy beginner stage. We're going to have to take a look and say, okay, I'm willing to try. It means writing that first chapter. It means researching perhaps a business plan outline. It means maybe going and buying some dice to play D&D. I'm using D&D as a reference because I literally went through this not too long ago myself. I've always wanted to try playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my limitation was that I was afraid of looking foolish in front of young people, and I had a whole bunch of woulda shouldas that came to mind. And I ended up just trying it and ended up absolutely loving it. But I had to embrace the cringe. I had to embrace the not feeling completely safe. I had to embrace the fact that I was going to be the newbie and that I needed to lean into kind of being okay to just start and try and asking questions and taking it kind of in baby steps. And it also might be that you create the framework, you create the infrastructure that keeps you from allowing that fear to grapple hold of you. And yes, I did create a questionnaire because a lot of this stuff that I'm covering here is some of the things that I would do. Actually, let's say it. These are 100% all of the things that I would do that justified me tearing down and restarting businesses over and over and over again. And this time I wanted to be different. I wanted to succeed. I didn't want my mind to kind of limit me anymore. So between therapy and this questionnaire that I developed, I sit down on Sunday mornings with my husband and he asks me the questions and I talk to him. I tell him what is in here and I bring it out here. And a funny thing is that with fear, is that when you put a voice to it or you put a label on it, all of a sudden it starts diffusing. It doesn't seem as big as when it's up here. So it's been really good at making me realize that the catastrophe, that big thing that's in my head, that thing that feels so overwhelming, is really not as big as it is, that it really is more of a mouse or a molehill than it is a monster or a mountain. I hope that makes sense. And yes, we'll get into kind of a little bit of what the questionnaire is in a moment, but that is going to be available to you in the description below so that you can use it with whether it's a coworker or a spouse or a friend or a mentor or a coach, whatever the case may be. If it helps you get over your self-limiting beliefs and your own fears, great. I'm glad you're going to have it. And guess what? I'm not selling anything. You're not going to get 8,000 emails from me saying that I'm offering this course and that course and this digital download and yada, 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 and upsell, downsell type of thing. No, this is genuinely coming from me because I want to help people. What's happening in the world, what's happening with the economy, what's happening with billionaires kind of owning us. I want the little guy to start rising up and start kind of thriving. And if that's something I can do to help others, great. So I'll talk more about it in a little bit, but for now, just understand that it's going to be in the description down below. Now, switching back, so cringe. The feeling of, oh, I feel gross. I feel that I look weird. I feel awkward, etc. So every time I felt that cringe factor, that feeling of, that doesn't feel good, I had to kind of reward myself for saying that, hey, that's a sign of growth. I did something that pushed myself out of my own boundaries. I tried something that provided me growth because now, check, it's off my list. That is not going to be cringe anymore. Maybe it will be because, yeah, talking to a camera is not exactly fun to do, but you kind of get over it the more and more you do it. But getting there or trying the first time, 100% feels awkward. So yeah, I can say every time I feel that cringe factor, I just say, wow, that allowed me to kind of stretch who I am. It allowed me to kind of get bigger, expand who I am as a person in that moment. So next time you do feel cringy, just reward yourself for it. Give yourself a pat on the back for getting there because not everyone does that. People avoid cringe. You actually went for it, so kudos to you. And one other little tip, if you intentionally want to be crappy, then anything you do after that feels great. I will say half the time when I start videos that I probably said the first few lines a few different ways just to kind of get over that initial angst of starting off. And usually the one that you do see here is probably about take 3, usually, because I have been able to work out that feeling of, because that's how it usually starts off. It's pretty boring and gross and lame. Anyway. But I intentionally do that because it rewards my system of saying I did crappy and now I'm doing way better than I did just a moment ago. And hey, if you're liking the content of this video, I hope you do like and subscribe. That's all I'm going to ask from you. So another thing that you can also do is you can focus on kind of the next 10 feet or the next even foot or the next, say, 30 minutes. For the next 30 minutes, I am just going to write. I don't care what it is, I'm just going to write. For the next 30 minutes, I am going to try this hobby. Or I'm just going to register that business name. Or register that YouTube channel name or social media handle, etc. By just doing something small will push you to then say, okay, well, that was safe. I'm going to do the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And then you look back and you've completely done, a full business framework, or you've gotten yourself to a point where you're ready to launch, a YouTube channel, etc. And all you did was just give yourself a little space, a little moment in time to say, I'm going to do this in this moment. And that's it. You can even set one of those egg timers or a timer on your phone if you want to as well, to make sure that you just give yourself at the beginning, whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever the case may be, just give yourself that baby step. And for the next part, I want to talk about the defense meeting that I created for myself. And yes, I call it a defense meeting, but you could also call it a mental audit. You can call it an external firewall. Whatever you want to call it. I call it a defense meeting because my husband's in the military, so we use kind of military terminology in this household. But basically, self-sabotage is a very lonely place to be. We are 100% in our head when we are self-sabotaging. When we are kind of justifying all of the reasons why we can't, this is not something usually that we say out loud. This is 100% something that we stew upon, that we think about, that we mull in our head. As much as we mulled about perhaps the dream, we probably mull in our heads a little bit more on all the reasons why we can't. And we do that because there's nobody to challenge our internal script. If nobody's in there to say, hey, that's not realistic, it gives you the permission to keep on saying it over and over and over to yourself. So that's what I ended up doing. I created a questionnaire that allowed me to kind of bring my internal thoughts on a weekly basis externally, where I sit down with my husband and we do it on a Sunday morning with our morning coffee. So it's before the day has started. There's no excuse. We just woke up and we do it. And I will say, as much as I thought it was just going to help me to prevent myself from self-sabotaging and tearing things down all over again, I will say it also has really helped my relationship with my husband, because I am talking to him about all of the things that are in my head, that I'm externalizing the stuff that normally would get bogged up along with all other kinds of thoughts and emotions and feelings. I'm getting it out, and he is also feeling like he gets to contribute to it all as well, whether it's part of my venture or it's just being, a better partner in that sense. And I understand that not everyone is going to have a spouse that they can lean into. So you don't need to do this with a partner. You can use friends, you can use strangers, you can, if you have the financial means, hire a coach or a therapist or something along the lines. You can even use this as a journaling thing, that it's just journaling prompts that you do yourself. Because again, taking out of your head and putting it even on paper allows you to kind of change your mindset, allows you to look at it from a different perspective. So I'm not going to go into all of the questions, but I'll give you kind of a highlight of some of the things that you might expect if you download it. So some of the things are on a scale of 1 to 10. How much success did you allow yourself to feel this week? Because self-deprecating thoughts, 100%, don't feel good and bring our mood down. So if we celebrate the little bit of success, or we have to look back and say, hey, I had these successes and I didn't celebrate them, will allow you to maybe look at the following week in maybe a little bit more gratitude, perhaps. Or maybe you look for those moments, those little wins that will kind of keep you moving forward. And along those lines, did you allow yourself any kind of happiness? Or polar opposite, were there any behaviors that you exhibited that had you where you wanted to take it all down? Or where you perhaps picked a fight with somebody? Or perhaps you went online to fight the internet? Or that caused you to become clumsy or tired or irritable? And did you find yourself worrying about things that you cannot control? And this one is a big one for me. And it was why I put it there to begin with. And that is, did you have any urges to burn it all to the ground or quit or pivot or change, etc.? And then if I did, it would be a follow-up question on, was that based in feelings or was that based off of actual data? And are you making any excuses right now to not move forward, to not do the thing? But then also kind of identifying what were the tasks that felt effortless, that put you in the zone, that made you feel alive. And is there things that you're procrastinating on, whether that is because you feel like you're going to fail or that you're afraid of success? I will also say with me, there is a huge money limiting belief for me too. So some of the questions are aligned to that as well. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how financially safe do you feel in this moment right now? And I would end up going through kind of my financial kind of outcome. What would happen if? And it allowed me to kind of put out there that where I would resource money, how would I survive a catastrophe? And it 100% diffuses that money limitation for me. The reason why I can't do this is because I'm going to lose everything. Well, if I've just talked to myself about how I will be safe, then there's nothing to lose. And if you're like me, where you feel that billionaires are greedy and you can't be a good person and also be rich, etc., what I recommend to you, first of all, is go and find evidence of rich people doing good things. Like, for instance, Dolly Parton. Did you know Dolly Parton buys books for a lot of people who are impoverished into schools that do not have a whole lot of money? And I know the whole book thing is controversial right now, that, access to books that allow you to think or allow you to feel is something that some governments are limiting. But to me, this is evidence of somebody who is highly rich, who is doing stuff for others that is really good. And a question that I also would look at is, did I do something to limit myself from making money, or did I pass up an opportunity that perhaps normally I would take because it made me feel that I'm going to end up being a greedy rich person then? And then I would leave off with, what is one thing that I can do next week that will make me feel good, that will push the needle forward, that will allow me to feel good about making a little bit of money? And I kind of look at future forecasting as well. Like, what are the things that I kind of need to do to make sure that I am moving forward instead of taking it all back down and wrapping it all up and putting it away on some shelf somewhere. And yes, I do have affirmations in there as well, if you're the type of person who likes them. I like kind of affirming some thoughts. I let my husband choose a couple that he would like to kind of say with me. I know that he likes doing them as well because he likes being able to affirm that the reason he is also stepping up and trying to help more, so that I do get the opportunity to kind of do things, to build the thing, to try the thing, etc. So bottom line is that starting something new is going to feel a little scary. It's going to put you in a place where it's all new to you. And you're just going to have to give yourself the permission to be bad at it for a little while. You will get over it, but just accept that. And there's no way that doubts and fears are ever going to disappear. You just need to kind of reframe it and figure out what works for you to allow yourself to give yourself the permission to go ahead and try. And you're going to have to recognize that staying safe is not going to allow you to grow. It's not going to change anything that's in your life today. And you don't need to be the hero who fights it all alone. Use the questionnaire with a friend, family, whomever. Someone you trust to help you push yourself out of your own boundaries, to push yourself out of your own way, whether that is with someone or even in your journal just to start, because maybe that feels safer for now until later when you can say it to another person. And you're going to need to give yourself the ability to show yourself the proof, to say, look, I felt cringe and that means I'm growing. Or I did the meeting, yay, celebrate me. Or yay, I just registered the business or started the business plan. You're going to have to give yourself the permission to share the wins. So with that, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for staying to the end. Thank you for subscribing and liking and commenting. I love hearing from people. I do comment back. So right about now, YouTube is probably suggesting something that you should watch, whether it be mine or some other video. So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you.